Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Daily Dose. Sorry we took a day off yesterday. We got through discipline, awareness, and gratitude. And then yesterday was a crazy, incredible day. I got a phone call from a dear friend of mine and a business partner of mine that was extending me an invitation to fly this weekend somewhere and meet with the owner of a fantastic, incredible company. And that's a huge opportunity for me, and I'm really excited about that. So I was excited to jump on that. So I kind of spent my evening going back and forth with them and trying to iron out details and so on and so forth. But what I meant to do yesterday was to break down focus for you, because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how text messages, email, Skype, Instagram, all these things, how they're just, we're so distracted these days, how our focus is so divided. And so I wanted to go ahead and just, let's figure this thing out, because it seems like, and I'm not an expert on what is actually happening or not happening, but it seems like productivity is going down even though we work harder and harder and harder every day. Doesn't it feel like you work more hours and more hours and more hours every year? Like you work harder now than you did 5 years ago, even more so than you did 10 years ago, but yet the productivity has even gone down. And how is that possible? And I believe it's a matter of focus. Webster defines focus as a point at which rays, as of light, heat, or sound, converge, or from which they diverge or appear to diverge. Specifically, the point where geometrical lines or their prolongations conforming to the rays diverging from or converging toward another point intersect and give rise to an image after reflection by a mirror or reflection by a lens or optical system. Okay, here's another definition. A localized area of disease or a chief site of generalized disease or infection. How about this one? A center of activity, attraction, or attention. Or the second part of that one would be a point of concentration. Now, doesn't that seem like the right definition of focus? A point of concentration. And let me ask you this question. Do you ever feel as though you don't have a point of concentration? Does it ever feel like it's difficult to really concentrate on one thing? I mean, I know when I'm sitting here doing the dose, and this is true, I'm recording now, right? I'm doing video now. But while I'm recording, my phone is ringing, I'm getting text messages, my Skype bubble is bloop, 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 my emails are going tick, 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 tick. And there's something happening in my brain that's saying, Brian, you got to find out what that is. You got to answer that. You got to know what's happening there. Facebook. Oh my gosh, the giant black suck hole of time that is Facebook. And some of you, don't pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about, right? Guys, we are suffering right now from an intense lack of focus. Listen, the sun shines down over the earth and heats the earth, and that's fantastic. But you can take a single beam of light and focus it down and concentrate it, and that same beam of light that would do nothing more than light a room can now cut through steel. You can take water that just rains down on the earth, and sure, water creates life, and we love that, but you can take that same water and concentrate it into a stream and run it over a rock for long enough, and you can create the Grand Canyon. Guys, focus is the key to creating tremendous results in your life. I mean, if you think about it, what focus really is concentration. The definition of concentration is taking something and smashing it down into something smaller. Well, if focus is nothing more than concentration, and concentration is nothing more than taking this much effort and condensing it down into this much effort, then just by its very definition, focus is going to help you achieve your goals faster. Think about it. If the same activities that you engage in over the course of 3 or 4 or 5 hours could be condensed down into 10 minutes, then you would have the remainder of that 4 or 5 or 6 hours to either do more of the same or do something else that you were focused on or that you wanted to concentrate on. There are those words again, focus and concentration. But here's what happens to most of us. We get 30 or 40 minutes worth of real work done scattered over 8 hours. Because we're like an octopus on roller skates, man. Lots of activity, but no direction, no focus. Why? Because it takes the human mind does its best work when it's focusing on one thing, when the mind goes into alpha state. Okay? It takes 25 minutes for your mind to really get into a rhythm and be focused on something and begin to create those alpha waves that are going to generate the best results for you. 25 minutes. Ask yourself, how many times do you go throughout the day uninterrupted for an entire 25 minutes uninterrupted by a text message, phone call, email, Skype, Facebook hit, or something of the like? The answer would be never. You never go 25 minutes without checking your email, Skype, Facebook, right? All those things. Guys, here's what's happening to us. We are becoming a workforce of idiots. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, because here's what we've discovered. Our research has shown, are you ready for this? That when you're multitasking, and there's really no such thing as multitasking, by the way, there's only switching. You can only switch your attention from one thing to another. You can never multitask. But when you switch your attention back and forth, so say, for example, you're listening to a conference call while you're writing an email, or you're carrying on a conversation while you're text messaging. When these things are happening, okay, you're really switching your attention. Research has shown that when you're switching like this, your IQ decreases by a minimum of 10 points. Do you know what that means for most of us? It means that our effectiveness and our productivity when we're switching is less than that it would be if we were stoned on marijuana. Think about that. That means most of us are going through our day about as productive as we would be if we were stoned. Now, I can't speak from experience to tell you what that's like, but I can imagine that that's probably not a good thing, right? Most of us want to be a little more productive than can imagine that we would be if we were stoned. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you, is that switching is terrible. So guys, look, the secret to getting more out of every moment in your day. See, every one of us says, gosh, there's just no time. I just don't have any time. I'm just out of time. But the reality is that the most effective people on the planet have 24 hours in every day, just like you and I do. So how do we get more out of our time? And the answer is focus. So when it comes time to do the work that creates productivity in your business, here's what you should do. You should turn off the Facebook, shut down the Skype, turn the power off on your phone, and for 60 minutes, focus on what you need to accomplish. Focus on prospecting calls. Focus on follow-ups. Focus on creative writing. Focus on blogging. Focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on to increase your productivity and increase your bottom line. But during that time of focus, everything else gets shut out. Everything else. Pretend it's just like, when you're in the shower for 7 minutes or 10 minutes, right? You're not answering the phone and checking Skype. The world doesn't come to crashing to a halt when you're in the shower for 7 minutes. The world's not going to come crashing down if you don't check your email, Skype, Facebook, and Twitter for 60 minutes. And that's a difficult thing for us to do because we're so addicted to that constant feedback, that constant attention. Who's listening to me? Who's watching me? Who's following me? Who's liking me? But the reality is that we are losing so much productivity because of all of this switching. When instead, here's what we can do. We can focus on one thing for 60 minutes, and then guess what? Take 15 minutes to answer emails, answer Skype, answer Facebook, fiddle around on your phone for 15 minutes, and then shut it off and go right back to 60 minutes of focused concentration. If you'll do this 2 or 3 times a day, you will get more accomplished in those 2 or 3 hours than you used to get done in 8 or 10 hours of multitasking and switching and never really getting back to the work at hand. So guys, I encourage you to get focused in 2013. Recognize creative avoidance, recognize distractions for what they are, right? And as enjoyable and as enticing and as fun as it is to be engaged in all of those areas and all those pieces of communication, unless you're an internet marketer and that's your job, this qualifies as a distraction from what is going to make you money and increase your bottom line. So get focused, get excited, and go out there today and make today your very best day.